Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Event Programming at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Michelle Wong. She is the CMO of Sprinkles Cupcakes. Hey, Michelle.
Hey Lisa, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to have you. And do you have any cupcakes you're going to send my way?
Of course.
Because
Cupcakes
otherwise,
and chocolate.
we're just stopping this right now. But no, I mean, I was a huge fan. Lived in the city. I know that they're all over, but I lived in New York City and just always had to have my the Oreo one. That was
Oh
my
yeah, that's a fave. It's so good. So good.
yeah, definitely. Well, all right. So first, I need to start off. Congratulations, you Forbes 50 CMOs, top 50 CMOs, entrepreneurial CMOs. That's amazing. So really, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a huge honor and yeah, I'm very, very excited by it. I don't think I slept the night before it was announced. It was a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I also want to congratulate you on your launch. I think it's about a month ago now. You guys went from cupcakes to now premium candy bars. And so that's pretty amazing. And, they're all in Walmart. I haven't had one yet, but I can't wait. Isn't it like, I think, a red velvet or something like that kind? Or
Oh, they're
what are the
all
flavors?
flavors inspired by our cupcakes. So we have red velvet, sprinkle, salty caramel, and milk chocolate. They're just amazing.
I think the salted caramel would be the one I'll go to. But so anyway, but the reason I bring that up, which because I don't talk about the work here, but just that I'm reading about it, and everyone's referring to it as a disruptor. I mean, because obviously you guys are more of a restaurant or bakery, and then you're in the CPG industry. You're diving right in, and that is really considered a disruptor brand, and that's how it's being described. So I want to ask you, what is a disruptor to you? Not necessarily in the work, not with the campaign, but just what defines a disruptor?
For me, a disruptor and disruption is about creating opportunity or finding opportunity. And whether it's something that hasn't been done before or it's a twist on something and creating something new, I think that's what gets marketers excited. But I think me on a personal level, like that's what you want out of life. You want to find something. It's about discovery and curiosity. And if you can actually bring that opportunity to life and to fruition, that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious in terms of your life. As you said, you can kind of disrupt your own life a little bit. Was there a time where you maybe did that? Maybe at one point change jobs quickly or move somewhere or just, I don't know, went on a trip last minute, just something where you just disrupted your life for that time.
I'd never thought about it this way until now. But flashing back, my whole life has been one disruption after the next. Like
Really?
I have been about change and moving and doing new things. So I did everything from I worked as an actor into my 20s. I went to culinary school. I worked as a pastry chef in London. I moved back to the US and worked in advertising for almost 20 years. And so living in different cities, taking on different jobs, finding again sort of whatever that new opportunity was for me, I think is part of my fuel of wanting to keep going and to try different stuff. I mean, it's been a crazy journey, but there's certainly been a thread in terms of what I personally like and respond to. But on the surface, all very different.
Yeah. Well, do you think that, and I tend to, I guess, when you put it that way, I'm sort of a disruptor. And I'm curious, I know where it comes from me. So when you're making these changes or doing these things, like, do you feel like you need to continue to be challenged? And as long as you can, and that challenge may be, it's not that you have to change careers or have to change, but it's finding those new challenges within that position, or if not, then you move on to the next, or finding it in your lifestyle or something, just always kind of moving to the next thing a little bit. And I don't mean it at like Sprinkles, don't worry, she's not leaving her job. I'm saying, but just looking for that thing that's going to make you say, okay, how am I going to do this?
Yeah, it is about the challenge and it feels good, right? When you're able to hit those marks, and hit those goals, and you want the next one. I want the next one. And it's this feeling of, I've described it as like, I'm never satisfied fully. And I
Mhm.
don't feel like that's a bad thing
Yep.
necessarily, because I can be happy where I am, but there's always this sort of piece inside of me that wants more, that wants to do more, that wants to see more. And I think part of it is the challenge, but part of it is the feeling of what happens when you get there. I'm like, I want to do this again and again and again. It's really a great feeling. And so I think that's what I tend to chase.
That's more the driving force. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I completely agree. And you touched on it a little bit. When I was doing my snooping, I noticed that you graduated the cordon bleu. After you graduated for a 4-year degree, then you go to the cordon bleu. So like, because obviously, because I usually say, what was your plan as you're leaving your senior year in college? And sometimes it's a marketing, depending on who I'm talking to. Sometimes it's not. It might be whatever. But obviously for you, I don't feel like that was on your radar at that point, at least. Talk about that, like what you were thinking when you were just starting out, when you chose to go to Le Cordon Bleu and then went elsewhere, and just what drove you. And I think we've talked a little bit about it, but just in that sense, for you bringing your path to where you are today.
Yeah, I don't think I knew at the time. Certainly, like, marketing wasn't on my radar at all back then. Um, I didn't realize at the time that actually what I was pursuing was to feel fulfilled. And what I didn't get out of my university experience, and what I didn't get out of what was going to come next in my life, was this incredible need for creativity. And I didn't have a lot of that when I was in college. And so, and it really affected me. It really affected my how I felt about myself and my future. And so food has always been a central part of my life and my upbringing. My grandfather had a restaurant. Everyone in my family, like, amazing cooks. Like, people come to our house and they're like, "We want to have Thanksgiving at your house." I'm like, "I know, like, the food's great." And so I decided to just change things up, because I felt good when I cooked. And actually, the part that I felt best about was when someone enjoyed what I had made for them. It was, and I ended up just sort of going more towards pastry, because I think I really loved the precision, the focus, and the attention. Like, I can't think about anything else because it's all going to go wrong. So it's really got to be centered here. And then it's the perfection, and what it looks like, and then again, just like making something and giving it to someone, putting it out in the world and have them respond. And that has been something that has carried me throughout my life. But that was what I was missing. And I think where I've gone throughout my life is, where have I been able to tap into that creative side of myself so
Yeah.
that I can feel fulfilled.
Wow. Well, so all right, so you mentioned acting, and then a number of years you were on the agency side, and and unless I missed something, I think Sprinkles is really the first time on the brand side. So talk about that evolution. Well, one, acting, and although I do get it, like, even I'm more a reporter, and now I'm finding myself doing, marketing per se, but it's just, so they do cross over, and I understand that. But talk about your thought process in that.
Yeah, I learned great lessons in that. So my family actually has a very much an artistic background. The women in my family are dancers, actors, singers, and so I kind of fell in sort of that line. But the lessons that I got from being an actor actually carried on to what it was like working in a professional kitchen, to what it was like running an agency, to what I'm doing now. And so much of it is the preparedness, the
Mhm.
responsibility, the being able to think on your feet. You can't show up on set and be unprepared. I mean, it's just like you're letting down a ton of people. Time and money really is a thing. And you think about how important it is for you are always on your A game. I mean, you've got to perform, and it doesn't matter if you're sick. It doesn't matter if you're tired. Like, you got to
Yeah.
show up. And I think when I, worked as a pastry chef, and again, I only did it for a year because it's so hard. I was like, this is like the toughest job I've ever had. But it was important that I was like, oh, these things are coming up again. Like, you've got to execute. And and being able to do it at a level where people are going to respond. And again, you can't, if you're falling down on the line, you're disrupting disrupting in a bad way, messing up the whole process, right?
Right.
And so I think, those are things that I've taken into the professional and corporate space when I work with young people. It's just like, you can't come in a room and not be ready, because look at all these people that you're a part of, that you're a team with. And so those are things that I've held on to because they've translated beautifully to everything that I've done.
Yeah. Well, and I do remember seeing that you mentor and you really
Hmm.
want to help. You just mentioned you want to help young people to really do their best and really to be more meaningful in the industry. And I'm curious to you, and I know depending, I mean, just even talking about your background and your path to coming to your position where you're in, everyone has their own path and different styles. So I know there's not that one cookie cutter thing to say, but really, what would you say is the most, if you were to advise across the board, what's the most meaningful way that someone can be approach that position? Like when they're starting out, how can they be more meaningful in the industry to really help to impact the people around them and to really maybe help them get to that next level?
Yeah, I think what I like to tell young people is, like, when you're coming into the office, like, there isn't really this separation for me. There isn't this separation between personal life and work life, especially if you love what you do. They're incredibly integrated. But part of the reason for that is because who you are as an individual carries into the work that you do professionally. And so I really encourage people to, like, just live your life, like, be curious, travel, see music, see shows, go do things, because all of that is influence that is going to affect your point of view, your perspective, especially as a creative. Like, what are you bringing to the table? It has to have all these influences, from eating out at a different restaurant,
Yeah.
traveling to a new place. And I don't, it's really interesting in our industry. For so long, it was like you had to go to this school, you had to have had this pedigree in worked at these agencies to get to this place. And I found that when you just had people that cared about the world around them and were influenced by so many other pieces of life, that work was so much more interesting. And then when you bring together a diverse set of people who have had different life
Yeah.
experiences, that's when you're really getting magic. And so um and it's funny because, like, as a leader too, I tend to be, like, very personal. Like, everyone who works with me knows everything about my life, but it's also because I bring what I've done outside in, and I feel like if everyone's doing that, we're able to get to really interesting places.
Yeah, no, and I especially, I mean, I think it's important in most professions. I mean, to a point, but especially I would think in marketing,
Yeah.
and just you need to, and even when you were talking about the acting and how it influenced you. When you're an actor, you need to understand people. And as a
Hmm.
marketer, of course, that's what you need to do. And then, as
Yeah.
you said, bringing in all these diverse people or people who are doing different things and bringing those life experiences in. And I do know, I mean, I also, again, with my snooping, that inclusivity is so important to you as a leader to bring that into not only, well, first, because I think they're two separate things. You want to bring it into the brand in terms of how you're marketing your brand, but also internally. And I think one, if you don't bring it in internally, it's going to make it that much harder to bring it in when you're talking about the brand image. So talk about one, why is it so important to you? And then two, how can you really, if someone came to you and said, we're trying to do this internally, we're trying to be more diverse, we're trying to be more inclusive, what are those steps to get them going?
Yeah. So I think for me, people often think of, like, oh, is it about, hiring practices, and I have to get certain people in, and it is to an extent, but so much of sort of living and breathing this is just like life, right? You have to start from the inside, and then it'll emanate out. So as a company, if you start on the inside, that work is going to naturally be a part of your everyday. And but that's everything from, like, who's on the leadership team, who's actually making decisions, what are the hiring practices, who are you bringing in, but it's also who are you partnering with on the outside? What does your agency structure look like? Do you have female creatives? Do you have diverse backgrounds of, and again, diversity from age, ethnicity, experience? Like, I mean, that's really the totality of getting an inclusive environment to create work that is representative of the world around us. And so I think it's truly an examination of everyone that's touching the business, and are we bringing in perspectives that are going to drive us forward, and because the future is incredibly different. I mean, it's like that, it's now, and if we're not doing it, I think you're missing out.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what you just said, and I don't like to say that that has to be the reason to persuade a particular brand or particular company to do this, but the bottom line is if you're not doing it, then you're losing money. You're not reaching a whole group of people that could be potentially using your product. But that said, how important do you think it is for a brand sort of, I don't know if you want to say morally, or like, is there a responsibility there for brands to portray themselves, to be there, to speak for the underserved? Like, do you feel that that's something that all brands should sort of take some sort of step and make a movement for?
I I do, but I also think that brands have to be authentic to who they are. Although I can't think of a brand that doesn't want to talk to everyone.
Right.
But it has to come from a place that has purpose and meaning, and that is true to who you are. I mean, Sprinkles is a female founded brand. 70% of our GMs are female,
Yeah.
and over 70% of our associate and our entire staff are people of color. And so when we're looking at who makes the company and who actually buys our products, they overlap. And so it's not even a responsibility for me. It's like, if we're not doing it this way, we're doing it wrong. And so it's really but I think it does have to come back to who you are, and how to make it make sense for you as a brand.
Right. No, and I agree, because I mean, you see some that just maybe jump on whatever month it is, or whatever it may be, and that's if they're not doing it elsewhere, if they're not doing it internally, if it's not coming from truth. And some brands are going to be here, and some are going to be here, and that's okay as long as
Yes.
it's true to who they are.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah.
No, I agree too. Well, I'm curious, what do people get wrong about you when they first meet you? What's something they get wrong about you?
I am a naturally happy person, and I am pretty outgoing and very friendly, and I'm the one that's cracking jokes in meetings and things like that. And I think that persona can sometimes give people the impression that I actually I'm not handling the hard stuff, and can handle the serious business. And as someone who's been part of running an agency and now is part of the C-suite at Sprinkles, obviously there are going to be times where that it happens. And so I think what people quickly learn is, yeah, we can have a good time, but I absolutely know how to handle the tough things that come up, because they do. It's business. And so that kind of maturity is something that I look for in other leaders. And yeah, you can't necessarily judge a person by a giggle sometimes.
Yeah. I'm curious, do people maybe, and maybe this is the wrong word, but try to take advantage, like think that, oh, she's going to be a pushover, or she's going to, just be fine with it because you seem so easygoing and whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, because when you do need to take it serious, you let them know that. Like, does it sort of take them off, a little off balance? And maybe in that sense, it could be actually even a benefit for you.
Yeah, I think we sometimes get off balance. I don't know if maybe there is, people trying to think I'm a pushover or whatever. But I think actually what ends up happening is, I think people are just surprised. I think people have an idea and a vision in mind of what a president of an agency looks like, what a CMO of a company looks like, and I don't know if I've always fit that visual. And many times had people say to me, "You're a CMO, you own an agency," and I think it's really hard as a woman. You're too young, you're too old, you're this, you're that, and what I've had to learn along the way is actually, I know the strength in being myself and how I've used that to be successful. And sometimes I have to bring people along, and sometimes you just have to let them go if they don't understand how to be a part of that. But it's certainly been a challenge in terms of how one is perceived and then how you use that.
Yeah. No, and you're certainly navigating that and you've been doing it very successfully. But what about that person starting out? Maybe that bubbly person or that very serious person and whatever. And they just want to belong. They want to fit in. They want, like, that's kind of, I think, when you start with a company, when you're new, when you're younger, that's sort of the mentality. What do you say to that person who wants to, okay, so I won't joke or I won't be, Miss Friendly, or like, how do you tell them to navigate the waters?
I think you have to be you, but you also have to be smart. And so, I also know how to behave in a boardroom versus, a creative review meeting. They're very different rooms.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people starting out struggle with is I want to be me, but it doesn't necessarily fit. And I think some of that is um, what I had to learn throughout my career is, yes, you have to do the work, but you don't get ahead just by doing the work. Yes, you can be yourself or behave how bring your authentic self, but at the same time, are you engaging with the people around you? And there's so many facets to what makes a successful sort of professional experience and how to move ahead and all those things. And there's always politics involved, and there's always relationship building and engaging and the work on top of it. And so it's really about, how are you showing up, and are you someone that I know is going to be on my team, is going to turn up every day, and we're going to get along, and then when we don't, we can resolve it. It's like there's so many pieces that go along with it, and it's hard, and especially when a lot of the time we're remote, to get that read and that feeling with people. So it's a lot of coaching that happens now, because we have to work so differently.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think, read the room, which you said, but I think it sounds like what you still don't want the person to lose what makes them different, like still keep that there, but again, read the room and how much
Yes.
you can let whatever end comes through.
And that takes time and experience, right? Like how many rooms have you been in where you're like, uh-oh, this isn't going well, and like trying to figure that out. I mean, and so it's like it's not going to happen overnight, and you're going to mess up, and but that's okay, and just make sure that you're around people that can help you along the way, because it does take time to have that level of EQ and experience. So you just kind of have to, again, be you, but you've got to practice. Some of it is just practice in terms of how you're working.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I do think it's, don't change yourself, or
Yeah.
maybe you're working at the wrong place if you have to completely
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
that might be an answer too. Well, I want to go back to sprinkles because you can't not talk about cupcakes. And it's your tagline, or Sprinkles tagline, is spreading the joy in every bite. So that's at least one of the things listed. And aside from giving people cupcakes, which I'm still waiting for my cupcakes, but how do you feel like you spread the joy? Like, what do you do in your daily life, whether with your friends, your colleagues, family, but just what do you feel like is your way of spreading the joy?
And this is a practice too, as someone I'm sure you can understand, as someone who's constantly being pulled in so many different directions. I've really had to practice being present. And so when I'm with friends, when I'm with family, I really try and not be on my phone the whole time, or be thinking about other things. Because I think that's what people want, right? When I'm with my people that I care about, um, I want us to be giving to each other, and you can't do that when you're distracted. And so joy to me is about, again, being able to feel like you're you and authentic and relaxed and just being who you are, but you also need to be present in that at the same time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And what brings you joy, you, each day? Like, so aside from being present with your friends and people you care about, but is there something that, makes it a good day?
It's everything from my morning. I have a very specific coffee that I have to have every day. My husband makes it for me every day. I'm very lucky. And I just like, a day isn't good unless I have that cup of coffee. And it's other things like if I love going to eat out. And so like this week I have 3 dinners this week, but that's the kind of thing. I love a busy schedule. I love to see people. Again, it's always just that piece of like, can I flex a little bit of creativity? What is that that's going to make me feel good? And so I love to dance. And so going to dance classes, like I can like let it all out. And it's like all of this like physical expression. And it's just the best feeling.
Are you a good dancer? Like, what kind of dance? Is it like more of a workout dance, or is it ballet, or what kind
I
of dance?
have danced my whole life. That coming from this performing family. But yeah, I love a little jazz funk hip hop situation. That's definitely my jam. So but I just, again, it's like when I'm there, it reminds me of when I'm baking a cake. Like I have to focus. Like I'm not thinking about spreadsheets at that time, because if I don't remember this 8 count, I'm gonna look stupid. So I'm like in it. And but I love that it's a mental, physical challenge. And those are things that I think make me feel really good.
That's awesome. No, I actually always, I'm didn't I grew up doing sports, so I'm not the most graceful person. So, but I do like I keep saying I'm gonna take some sort of dance because I see people doing these dances and they look so amazing, and I'm like, I don't know if I can get my body to move it that way, but I would love to just try, like just
Okay, next time in New York, we're gonna take a class.
okay.
Got a
Yes,
couple of
I will.
spots.
I will totally just you'll be like seriously. I took a yoga once, and like I have no flexibility. Like honestly, people think I exaggerate, and like they're doing this thing where you had to be against the wall, and I just kept plopping over like up.
Well, similarly, don't put me in a anything athletic. It's embarrassing. I can't hit a ball, chase it. I like nothing. It's just I'm completely useless there. So
So when you come to New York, we'll go to a dance class and we'll go like play some pickleball or something.
there you go. There you go.
All right. So now also Sprinkles Cupcakes has cupcake ATMs. Is that how you refer to it?
Yes, yes.
Very cool. What would you like that doesn't have an ATM, isn't a traditional, but what do you think should be an ATM? Like what product would you want?
Oh, I don't know if it would be a product, but I would love just like the service of like someone just being like doing your hair. So in the airports, there's like this, they have some have like the spas, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
if there was like a blowout bar or something, a dry bar, like in an airport, like that would be amazing.
So just like
So
more, they're
more accessible, more glam accessibility.
okay. That
I
makes
would
sense.
love that.
That's the thing, even like the whole massage thing at the airports. Like in general, I like that idea because I would love a massage, especially
Yeah.
when you're traveling. But then I don't want to be sitting in one of those chairs as everyone's walking by and they're all
Yeah.
massaging me. So I never do
Yeah.
it. So they need to do it
Yeah.
in a way that makes you want to,
Yeah.
do it. But
Well, it's not necessarily relaxing being in an airport, right? But it's like the hair dryer's going, like it's loud anyway. I'm just like, yeah, get my hair done so I can make my next flight and get to dinner when I land. Like that would be
I like
a
that,
great
definitely.
idea.
A lot of times you have to find a salon and just be like, can you just do a blow, which
Yeah.
is a doable thing. But yes, if you did it right when you get off the plane, because my hair usually looks a mess when I get off the plane. So that would definitely be a good thing.
I think
Okay,
we're
so
onto something here. I think we've just
all right, are we
described
gonna start our new
airport life.
all right, so we're gonna play pickleball, we're going to go dancing, and then we're going to start a company within an airport. Piece
Yeah,
of cake.
done.
Next time you're in for the weekend.
Next, what else can we solve?
Oh, Okay, well, I have to ask because you said that most, everyone you work with, you share a lot, everyone knows everything about you. So I like to ask sort of what's something, sort of a small and maybe even inconsequential thing that people don't know about you, or maybe a skill or a talent or whatever that may be. And now think hard because since you do tell everyone everything.
I know, I'm like, well, I will say that it is certainly not a skill. While I dance and I do all these other things, what I can't do is sing. But I love it so much. And I actually I sing all day long. Like I'm in the house, if I'm making dinner or whatever, cleaning, doing, I am always singing because I love it. And but I'm terrible at it. So, but it hasn't stopped me.
Does your husband, does he invest in air?
You know what? He has told me that when I'm not home, he's like, it's so quiet. And I realize it's because you're not just like singing and humming along all day. And he misses it. So maybe it's not that bad.
There is a husband who loves you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I would say that's a good thing. What about a guilty pleasure? Do you have something where you kind of just, watch a bunch of reality TV or and it can't be cupcakes, but something like that?
Oh, it's definitely TV watching. Like over this holiday weekend, I just sat on the couch and watched TV 2 days straight. It was amazing. I also think that watching TV is really good for you because I think you learn a lot about character development and storytelling and visual design and art direction. So that's my excuse for watching as much TV as I want to watch. But oh, I love it. And it's everything from I love comedies, sitcoms to stand up, but I also really enjoy some reality. I like skill-based reality. So I'm like a huge Top Chef person, so you think you can dance, like that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I love to sit down and watch TV.
No housewives coming your way.
I am not a fan of the Housewives, but who knows? I haven't gone there yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, my brother is a reality. I'm not a big reality, and being in entertainment news like that most of my career. When reality came on board, and we were just like, oh, I am not covering that. Like, so it sort of turned me off. But I do agree, some of the skill-based ones, like where you are impressed with what they're doing, they're singing,
Yes,
dancing, or whatever it may be.
yeah,
That
that I love.
I can appreciate that. I can't say I watch a lot. I am a TV watcher, but not necessarily. I'm more the crime, like NCIS,
Okay.
like things like that, like the serial drama, drama, or
Yeah.
not crime, like true crime. Although that's okay too. Um, so, and one other thing before, well,
Yeah.
actually, I have two other questions. One, just a quick. I mentioned my favorite cupcake. What's your favorite cupcake?
You know, I always will end up going for red velvet. It's our number one. It's what we're known for, and it's so good. But because we have all these, like you said, these new ones that come in and out, like that's why I eat them all the time. It's like, oh, it's matcha's back, and oh, lemon meringue's back, and so they're all great. But my go-to is always red velvet.
Okay. And just finally, I mean, everyone has goals,
Mm.
your 10-year goal, your 5-year goal, whatever your plans. What's your daily goal?
I'm like, don't be snarky. My daily goal is I always want to feel accomplished. And at the end of the day, I want to feel like I did something. And even if it was sitting on the couch all day, I accomplished a day of relaxation and catching up on blah, blah, blah. And so I just want to feel like I did something. And whether that was, I finally finished this presentation, I had a good meeting, I squeeze in a dance class at the last minute. As if I have that feeling at the end of the day, it was great.
Yeah. Awesome. And watching TV, you did learn the design, so then you know what to take back to you off your office. So
That's what
you
I'm
learn,
saying.
what people are wearing, what they're wearing, so
Exactly. Exactly.
don't
You get
get
it.
away from that process. Anyway, Michelle, thank you so much. This has been truly a pleasure. I really enjoyed meeting you.
Lisa, this was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. As I always say, please, if you have anyone you want me to pull back the curtain on, let me know who you would like, and I will do my best to get her. Thanks. And thanks again, Michelle.
Thank you.